This is Critical Commentary with Maurice Williams. So before we start the episode today, there's a lot of housekeeping to take care of. We've been getting a lot of opinions, and basically what I've learned is, as the saying goes, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. But thankfully for myself and the viewers, the producer's gonna let me go off script a little bit. So I'll be addressing people like Elijah Schaefer, Ben Shapiro, and some of the other right-wing lunatics. Because basically it seems like a lot of the people that follow you guys have been in the comments. So I have a few grievances that I would like to address. Before I go into my grievances though, I would like to shout out Bakari Sellers, who is frequently on CNN. He's the host of the podcast isn't new, but he's he's now co-hosting the podcast Native Live. So I want to send my support to Bakari. My bad, bro. We're supporting everything black. Blacks, Hispanics, and whites can't read. Why do you think I started a podcast? It's a fucking racist thing with you niggas, and that's why I'm coming at you niggas next. They love to talk about black violence. Have you heard of white violence? White people commit violent crime at 3 times the rate of Asians. When is Nick Fuentes going to talk about white violence? Everybody's arguing about their 2 genders. I sat next to hermaphrodite in math class. Am I allowed to talk about the Jews? If she wanted, we could do it in the morning. Yawning, letting my eyes stretch, baby, I ain't a novice. I've been a dog, she FaceTime, but I never call. Dear black people, though I criticize us on this show, it's only to hold us accountable. I will not let white folk talk crazy to us, whether in the comments or just online in general. When they talk negatively about us and share disparaging remarks, I will be addressing that because I feel it's important that we stand up for ourselves and let these people know who we are and what we're about. Not trying to be funny, but some white people are not good at math. Really, on average, most whites aren't that good at math. So as black people, we may need to teach them again like we did when the Romans and the Greeks came to both East Africa and West Saharan Africa. Yes, the sub-Saharan West Africans did teach the Greeks and Romans. They write about it in their own history. I actually came across a comment this morning. I woke up 3 a.m. I was a little hot and sweaty, and I saw a comment from a viewer basically trying to rip me to shreds, saying that they wanted proof and evidence of everything I was saying. So I'm about to go to that comment, and I'll say your name. Jose Morel 2307. Hopefully the information that I give you, you look into it in case you don't agree with it. But your comment was, so where is the documentation of that language in writing? And that is in response to when Nick Fuentes was saying that sub-Saharan Africans, which he meant West Africans, not the East Africans in Egypt and Sudan. He was saying that sub-Saharan Africans had no language and no written writing. So, for example, I found over 11 languages that the pre-colonial people knew that the Africans had. So they had language in Ghana, they had language in Cameroon, they had language in Sierra Leone, they had language in Nigeria, they had language in Libya, they had language in Liberia, they had Swahili, they had a few other languages, Wolof. It's so many that I don't even recall, but there's much documentation of this language. And not only is there documentation of this language, I discussed Mansa Musa a couple episodes ago. He was the guy from West Africa that caused inflation worldwide because he was giving out gold. So to say black people weren't good at math, they were doing very well to be able to, for one man to be able to cause worldwide inflation. But Mansa Musa had some colleges that were established way in the 8th century, the 900s. So these colleges were established way before Nick Fuentes was talking about the Northern Europeans penetrating sub-Saharan Africa. So one of these colleges was in Timbuktu. So a lot of people have jokes about sending people to Timbuktu. What's ironic is that in Timbuktu, you have one of the, if not the oldest university in the world. And can't remember the name offhand, but I was able to pull it up because I was a little prepared for your comment because I seen it earlier today. The university is called Sankora, and it was founded in 1989, and it grew all throughout the 9th century, all through the 14th century, and there was tons of manuscripts, and they were educating lots of people in Spain, Italy, Greeks, Romans, just the whole Southern Europe. So yes, the Southern Europeans had intelligence. I'm not saying that they came and that they were savages and didn't know anything, but I'm also saying that when they came across the Africans, they talk about how the Africans were different. They say the Africans were more impulsive. They say that the Africans were more violent, but they didn't say the Africans were stupid. They definitely acknowledged that there was systems of governments. You had kings, you had monarchs, you had artistry, you had masonry, you had different forms of political power, different tribes and different structures. So there was a complete society throughout the vast portions of West Africa, Central Africa, and the Congo, down towards Southern Africa. It was civilization, just not quite as advanced as Europe. Not saying that there's not a bit of truth in what the modern whites are saying, that sub-Saharan Africans weren't as advanced, but they were advanced. I mean, not advanced, but they were knowledgeable. Continuing on with your comment, because there was a few things that I think I saw that wasn't factual from you. Whites destroyed the evidence and erased it. In fact, whites are the only ones interested in studying cultures. Clearly, this is false. Asian people study culture, Africans, Middle Eastern people, Northern, Southern Europeans. The world is full of people who are interested in studying cultures. If anything, if you go to the Britain Museum, they have tons of artifacts from everywhere else. This is my question to some of the Northern Europeans. Why is the British Museum full of everybody else's culture and everybody else's history? If everybody else was incompetent, if everybody else didn't have culture, if everybody else wasn't educated, why did the British people find it so important to save those people's history? Obviously, other cultures have histories that are rich and diverse. From the Southern Asians to the Southeast Asians, to the Sub-Saharan Africans, the Northern Africans, the Eastern Africans, even the people in the Americas like the Mayans and the Aztecs, and Northern Europeans. I will never take away what Northern Europeans have done for medicine, what they have done for the world. But as we're learning, when we look at things like Alzheimer's and other diseases, I know I'm rambling, but I'm just telling you guys this as it comes to my head. But we're now finding out that what they thought was causing Alzheimer's was like the plaques in people's heads. And they're finding out, yes, they have plaques, but it's other things that are causing the plaques that is causing the Alzheimer's. So though some of the older things like dieting and exercise were laughed at by the Western Europeans, now they're talking about they're going to start doing things like massaging people's brains and having them change their diet to help with their guts and help with other things going on with their brain. Because like the elder people said in all these dumb and low IQ cultures, the world and the body is one thing. So though they may have not had the technology to understand why these things were the case, some of their ways they treated medicine holistically and some of the ways they treated the environment, like now we recycle, some of those principles are still being used today. So don't be so quick to talk bad about the sub-Saharan Africans. Don't be so quick to talk about these ancient civilizations. Yes, we have progressed since then, but we learned a lot from our elders and our forefathers. So whoever this is, Jose Morel 2307, put some respect on the sub-Saharan African's name. If you know something about old Egypt, it's thanks to the whites. No, clearly the Egyptians have hieroglyphics. They tracked their own history from like 18,000 years ago with, forgot the Nubian queen, but she was a Nubian, queen, all the way to Cleopatra, who was Macedonian, southeast, Nefertiti. Nefertiti was the queen back 8,000 years ago, but then Cleopatra who was Macedonian, which is Southeast European, so white. She was the queen later on towards the latter part of the Egyptian dynasty. But the Egyptians were tracking their history the whole time, so clearly they had writing and ways of keeping up with time and history if they were able to track their kings over the course of 8,000 years. Also, if you want to know, the 365-day calendar actually comes from, yes, the Egyptians, but it comes from the Egyptians who were in modern day Sudan. So I'm not sure what you guys know about the Egyptian culture, but everybody talks about Egypt towards the end around Cleopatra. But the Egyptians are actually coming from Kush, around Ethiopia, around Sudan. So the Egyptians already knew there were 365 days in the calendar before they had even got to Memphis, which is higher up, closer towards the Red Sea. So a lot of these things that you guys are crediting Egypt with as a whole, you're thinking about the light-skinned Egyptians, and you're thinking about Egypt when the Romans had power of the Egyptian culture, and when the Macedonians had power of the Egyptian culture. But way back thousands of years, the black people who were sub-Saharan Africans, even though they're on the east, they were dark-skinned, they already had implemented the 365-day calendar from looking at the planets and looking at the stars and things. So to have a 365-day calendar, again, they had math. And as people know, the Egyptians, as well as the Middle Eastern culture, but I call them Southwest Asians, they were doing arithmetic and geometry and back then what was considered high-level math even before the Europeans came. So Nick Fuentes, you're a motherfucking liar. There was tons of education in these now third world places. I know I'm going, but I'll just finish this comment because I remember it caught my attention late at night. By the way, oh Jesus Christ. And by the way, Egyptians are descendants of Berbers. Lord have mercy, not sub-Saharan blacks. Okay. When you look at Africa, there's West Sub-Saharan Africans. Those are the people like me, which is Homo erectus. Homo erectus was about 1.8 million years ago. Homo sapiens, who are also dark. Homo erectus came from Egypt, and then, not Egypt, but Ethiopia, and then expanded into West Sub-Saharan Africa, and then stopped because of the ocean, and then spread throughout the world. Now, later on, more modern humans were Ethiopians, who are also dark-skinned. They had straighter hair like the Ethiopians have now, like Europeans have, like Asians have. They came about 300,000 years ago. They were also dark-skinned. So my point of saying this to you is that no, the Berbers, who are light-skinned Northern Africans, were not the people who created the Ethiopians and the Egyptians. It was the reverse. The dark-skinned people came first, and then the people became lighter as their diet changed and as they moved away from the amount of sunlight that you have near the equator. If you pay attention, you will notice that people in sub-Saharan Africa and people in like Mexico and the Caribbeans, they look darker. The world is round, though many people seem to think it's flat. The world is round, so at the bulges, you're getting an intense amount of sunlight, so the people's skin is dark to protect them from the UV rays from the sun. As you get into colder climates, you have different not different genetics, but you have a different environment which affects the genetics. So people were adapting to getting less sunlight and needed that's vitamin D. So that's why lighter skinned people, like white people, are less likely to have lactose intolerance. The dark skinned people's body it protects them away from the sun, but they don't have to synthesize the vitamin D. Whereas the white people who are in the cold and away from the sun, their body better synthesizes the vitamin D. So as you see, a lot of things are connected, right? Our skin color is also affecting was caused by our diet, and also affects like what we can eat and what makes us sick now. Where did we get? Indians have I don't want to call you low IQ, but you're not that bright. You need to look some of this up, Jose. You said that Indians are brown and have black skin, but they're not blacks. I explained this to you again because you didn't know this before this episode. The East Africans then went to India. That's why the Indians towards the bottom are more dark skinned. The Indians towards the top are more light skinned because they've moved away from the equator, and the light skinned ones have had more of a mix with the southern Europeans. But the East Africans went to India, but they also went to Australia. So the reason that you have dark-skinned Indians and have dark-skinned Aborigines is you had black people. They just migrated to the east, and they kept their pigmentation because they stayed still. The Indians and the Australians are still near the equator, so they kept their pigmentation. until the British people who conquered the world. The British people went to Northern America, killed the Indians. They went to Australia, killed the Aborigines. And then some of them went to the areas like Palestine and started killing off the Middle Eastern people. So though a lot of white people are trying to say brown people are now moving in on them, if you look at what happened in totality, those same Europeans who went to America, who went to Australia, who went to the Middle East, those same people now are complaining that people are migrating on them, but they built these civilizations that we have today from migrating on others. I'm just trying to give people the whole picture so we can see what's really going on. And your final statement was, and you don't let I don't let Nick Fuentes finish his statements because he says stupid shit. So when I hear it, I stop the tape and respond. He was explaining what he said, not Africans. Yes. But he didn't go into depth like I'm explaining to you guys. Sub-Saharan Africans are not just the West. It's the East and the West. The West Sub-Saharan Africans have different genetics than the East Sub-Saharan Africans, but it's not just because of migration. They just come from different hominids, which are different archaic forms of human beings. And by the way, blacks are always Blacks are inflammatory towards whites because of the history. Also, as maybe people are seeing from me, blacks are a little impulsive. So in terms of impulsivity, blacks are the most impulsive. Then Hispanics and whites are in the middle. And then Asians are the least impulsive. So I'm not going to say that blacks are necessarily the most racist or anything, but I'm willing to at least listen to people who say that sometimes blacks are a little more animated than whites. And I just add into that if we paid attention, we may notice that whites are a little bit more animated than Asians. So that's just something that's happened over time. And if it's an issue that blacks are animated, or if it's an issue that we're impulsive, which it can be, let's say something bad happens and you need to be protected. Being quick to the impulse to protect is not bad. Let's say there's an argument and then without thinking you murder someone. Being quick to the impulse is bad then. So there's nothing wrong with having a fast impulse. The thing is, everybody just needs to be aware of their culture and aware of themselves. If you have fast impulses, just maybe work on making understanding that and trying to think about fast positive solutions. If you have a slower impulse, prepare yourself when something needs to be done fast in advance. Or if you have the time, go ahead and think and make the decisions as best as you can. Turning from the first part of the show, we're going to actually cover news today, but that's just for me and the producer talking. I had a lot of things I was upset about. They had some things they were upset about, and he thought it would just be a good idea for me to go ahead and just share with you guys some of my thoughts. So I appreciate you guys' comments. I know I responded to a negative comment. Later in the show, I'll do the regular comments. I appreciate the comments, subscriptions, people hitting the like, dislike. Keep letting us know what you think. And this show may continue to change, or we may keep it how it is if you guys like it. Moving on. So in the news, what we had is Mike Johnson, who is actually a congressman near New Orleans. I'm not sure which congressional district he represents, but I know he's near the New Orleans area. He stated that this shutdown that's already been going on 15 days may extend to 30, which I don't like, because in my opinion, when he was asked, because after he's made that comment, they asked him, well, how is this shutdown affecting the American worker? So he stated that he's a Republican. He stated that Trump's making sure the soldiers are paid. Well, that's a good thing. But what about the IRS? What about the postal workers? What about the government contracted people? What about the students who need the funds to get food? He said he didn't know the details. Well, I've been covering the story. I'm not in Congress, and I understand that until they first agree to open sessions back up, then agree to a resolution or a compromise, I know that these people will be missing paychecks. Last episode, they had missed 4. Now he's talking about extending it 2 weeks. That's almost 3 weeks of no paycheck. Postal workers and various people may not have a cushion to where they can pay all their bills and pay the mortgage if they're not paid for a month. They're still expected to work, but they're not going to be paid. So if these people are not getting their paychecks, it's causing them potentially great devastation. So I just find it ironic and poor taste of Speaker Johnson, Mike Johnson, to say he's not aware of the details. The details is what you need to focus your butt on, sir. And not just Mike Johnson. I think the Democrats who are, yes, they're trying to hold the healthcare for everybody. And they need to understand maybe they're gonna have to give a little bit because we don't need so many people suffering right now for you guys to deal with the bill that, as I stated a long time ago, even if the Democrats come to the table now, the healthcare and the budget cuts to Medicaid aren't happening until 2026. So there's still time for you guys to talk and come to an agreement and a resolution. Don't punish these 100,000 Americans today for something that you can fix over the next 6 months. So I implore both sides to stop with the bullshit, stop with the partisan games, or I would suggest we vote y'all asses out of Congress. We need more politicians who are going to just be honest and do for the people from the ground up. So y'all need to get y'all act together. Again, I'm going off script. I'm going to go to Lilly later, but I was just thinking about current affairs. I thought about the New Orleans mayoral race. I actually didn't vote in the race because I wasn't sure which candidate I really wanted to vote for. I've been paying attention. We had Helena Moreno won, and then we had Oliver Thomas and Royce Duplessis. So I heard about Royce from a guy who was a rapper. He used to rap with Currency. His name was Nesby Fitz. He was just telling me that Royce was a good guy and that he had a strong track record in his short time period because he's kind of young. He's in his 40s. So I talked to Royce and I talked to other younger people who happen to be black. I didn't really talk to my white friends about Royce, but they had a lot of good things to say about Royce. He didn't have the name recognition. The other two candidates that I already knew was Oliver Thomas, who served time, and ironically, he gets his hair cut at my barbershop. And then Helena Moreno, who I won't go into her personal life, but at some point she was like, well, this is like the nigga news. They say she was addicted to drugs. So the thing about Oliver was he had the name recognition in the city. He's New Orleans grown, and he's an older gentleman in his 60s. I think he's an honest man, and I actually know he's an honest man because he went to jail, and the word on the street is he could have named names and said some things, and he could have got either no time or a short sentence. But instead, he didn't say anything. So though I don't agree with him potentially receiving funds, which I don't know if he did or didn't, all I know is that he didn't tell on somebody. Though I don't agree with the situation he was in, I respect a man who, if you were in a predicament with you and some other people, and you were the person who got in trouble, I'm not condoning crime and I'm not condoning violence. I think that when somebody who's not a part of the crime or somebody who's not a part of the violence, when a witness sees, come forward, tell the police. I'm totally against two people coming together. They commit the crime together. One of you get caught and now you want to tattle. I can't trust you as a man. So I know that might be kind of nuanced for some people who are not part of the urban culture or the inner city. But the thing is, we're not promoting violence. It's just kind of like with the mafia. It's a rule. It's a code to the street. It's respect. It's honor among thieves is a way you can put it. I think that what it showed me with Oliver was that, yes, he may make a mistake, but he's not going to leave someone out to dry that's on his side that he's doing something for. So even though I didn't vote for him, had I cast the vote for him and had he become our mayor, I do believe that if things happen between the congressman, state legislature, who the mayor has to deal with, or if things happen with the congressman who the mayor has to deal with, or if it's national and it's the Senate, or national and the president, executive branch, or even judicial branch, I do think Oliver would have been a man of substance and honor. And I believe that whatever he said he was trying to do for the people, right or wrong, I believe that he would have stood for his beliefs and fought for us. Now, I don't know as much about Helena Moreno, but I wish her well as the mayor. For one point, crime in New Orleans had dropped, picked up a little bit over the last couple weeks. I'm hoping that her and Jeff Landrew, because I try to be bipartisan, Landrew came in with some policies. He was talking about putting the 10 Commandments in the schools. I don't know if that's going to affect anything, but they can try. But he did say there was going to be stronger and more law enforcement. So I do like that the crime and murder and the carjackings in New Orleans were going down. Similar to what Trump was trying to do with the National Guard. I think there is a place for law enforcement in the inner cities. I just think we need to find a way to police the right areas and not over-police people. So one of the problems that happened, and this will be my last rant before I go into Lilly, but one of the problems with the 1990s and the early 2000s was they were over-policing certain neighborhoods. And what was happening was you're going after violent criminals. We're cool with that. But then you start arresting people for things like marijuana. So now you're telling me that 1 in 3 black males is a felon, but you're not explaining to me that they're a felon over a marijuana possession. Well, now marijuana is legal in like 18 or 24 states, and they're talking about making it legal nationally. So I just think that I get that it's tough. The cops have to follow the law. So what happens is, because they're policing your area, they're finding more crime. But I wish there was a nuanced way. And I think Trump tried to do that with the First Step Act. That's why I'm not against the Republicans. Like I say, I'm a libertarian. I wish we could have a third party where it was like common sense. You got the leftist lunatics, you got the right lunatics, and then you got the people in the middle really trying to cut taxes for some or help those who need it, and those who trying to reduce crime without stereotyping. I feel like us, the people in the middle, we're just looking for a party, and we're just looking for politicians who, like, maybe we don't agree with everything, but like I say, but I support Thomas Massie. I don't agree with everything he says, but he's a man of principle, like I was saying about Oliver. Like I feel about Ron Paul, who is an older politician who is no longer in politics. It's about being integrity, being honest, and being about your principles. As long as you stand for what you say you stand for, and you are who you say you are, I'll at least respect you and be able to listen to your opinion and take it serious. My brain just works in a crazy way, because that made me think this is a good segue to Lilly, who again says the N-word, but she's honest in her commentary. I stumbled across this and have not watched it yet, but it said rare black win. So I'm thinking maybe me and Lilly agree. Let me go ahead and watch the video. She says the woman demands segregation, though, so that's already making me think I'm not for segregation. I'm for diversity and everybody getting along and bringing their cultures together to make an even stronger culture. Like in New Orleans, we have gumbo. You're just taking different parts of different cultures and different parts of food, and you're putting it together, and that's what makes America America, and that's what makes America strong. Trying to see the best in everybody while also obviously working on the negatives. But let's see what Lilly has to say.
With each day that passes by.
Whoop. Turn up the volume for you guys. Bear with me. Y'all see how I am. I'm a little throwed off, as my mother used to say. Rest in peace, ma. I love you.
I am getting more and more sick and tired of living around sun-dodging lice babies. I don't want to live around them anymore. I don't want to have to see them every day. I don't want to have to walk into the store and look in their faces.
What's up, folks?
Well, that wasn't really anything good the black lady said. I don't like her calling white people names. They haven't, from what I've seen, done her anything unless she just coming in hot like me. Maybe she had some mentions in her ex. Maybe something happened on the job. I don't know. But just seeing that with no context, I'm against her calling them names. I'm against her saying she don't want to see white people. It came up very hateful. I would actually be concerned. I don't think she's going to harm anybody, but if you have too much of that going on, again, that hyperbole can lead to violence. So I definitely just am against that attitude in which she stated. So let's see this commentary. I guess someone in the comments said, I'm reacting to a reaction to a reaction. Well, I guess I'm not as low IQ as some of the whites think. I can react to a reaction and react to the person doing the reaction.
We are back again. Well, what you just heard from that extremely angry black woman is basically everything white people are feeling. Yes, ma'am, I agree with you. I really don't like to see you in the store. You know why? Not just because we're despicable racists, but because every time we go into a store, it seems like generally if there's a ruckus, if there's a disturbance of the peace in these stores, it's generally coming from not the lice baby sun dodgers, as you call us, which actually, if you know me, I'm always in the sun. But it's actually happening from the melanated people, and if I could use some creative descriptors of you guys, I would actually be banned. Unlike you, you're allowed to...
Oh, I was about to come at Lilly, but it's going into something I think we may agree on. So what I'll say about Lilly is, I don't know if you've seen the show, Lilly, but the reason that it seems that blacks are causing the problem usually is because because the lower class blacks are in the cities. So if you prefer to not to be around low class people, maybe you need to move to a suburb or a more affluent neighborhood. But I don't think it's the race purely that's causing the problem that you're stating. I believe that if you are in Appalachia or in some places where it's rural and poor whites, I think you would still see the same ignorant behavior.
You make up all these descriptions of black people, but if heaven forbid, if I brought a thing of bananas in here, I mean, it would be over.
This is me trying to speak to the YouTube, the policymakers, the people behind who gets banned, who's allowed to speak. I believe Nick Fuentes is banned. I think Nick Fuentes should be let back on YouTube. I think Andrew Tate's banned. I think he should be let back on YouTube. YouTube is saying there for free speech now. I think that it's wrong that Lilly can't share her views as she wants. I think we should monitor it if she starts saying that we should harm black people or harm any group of people, because I've heard Lilly talk about Jewish people as well. If she starts talking about harming people, we have to remove her from off YouTube because we don't want to incite violence. But if she feels that black people are allowed to call whites crackers, or if she feels that black people are allowed to say that white people are lice babies, I think it's nothing wrong for white people to hurl insults at blacks. I'll say this. I don't know if y'all heard about Black Twitter, but if y'all want to start hurling insults, maybe the blacks need to get together and we'll start responding to you guys in kind, and we'll see who's more wittier. We'll see who really has the higher IQ. We'll see who's better at playing these games if y'all want to go joke for joke.
Hooked. Done. But yes, ma'am, I do agree with you. We actually would like to live separately. Let's take a listen to what this woman has to say for the rest of her video, because it is quite long, of her rambling. I think I've seen one of this woman's videos before. She's just an insane person. I can't tell if it's a joke, but I don't think it is. I genuinely think this is just how she is. And she's a pretty good representation of how most black people feel about white people.
I'll let this go into what else the lady said. But just from the first part, she's definitely not a good representation of how blacks feel about white people. Black people are cool with white people to hang out with them in various settings. I mean, like I say, in New Orleans, there's Mardi Gras. There's tons of schools that are mixed. I think what it is that the schools that are mixed are generally the same socioeconomic class and group. So what you have is you'll have middle class people mixed. And you'll have upper class people at private schools where the people are wealthy and affluent. They're mixed. What the problem is in America is the racial thing. I'm not sure if people are starting to catch the theme now. The racial thing is a class thing. You've got whites who are lower class, not even seen, and then you got blacks who are lower class who are right in front of everybody. So a lot of this racism that people are seeing, whether there's black on white violence or as black people talking about how whites behave, it's not so much that they're talking about white people for their skin, because I know growing up, the way I talked, there were black people who said I spoke white. I said, what do you mean I speak English? Now I got white people saying that I speak like a nigga because I'm talking and cussing and I'm not speaking how they want me to speak. But I do believe I'm bringing more information than they're used to. But I just say all that to say that I just want people to be more mindful of, like, when people like Lilly or other race baiters try to put the races against each other, pay attention to how a lot of the problems that they're saying are more class-based than race-based. I think that people will start to notice, there's a lot that separates us, but there's a lot that holds us together. So when we start talking to each other, whites and blacks will start saying, wait, we're different because of white and black, but I agree more with, and I can have more camaraderie and more understanding with the blacks and the Asians in my socioeconomic group. I can better understand the blacks, whites, and Hispanics and Asians in this socioeconomic group. And likewise, just with the lower class, you may see, it's not a racial thing, just across the board. The group that I grew up with, the group that I have shared the type of food and I shared the experiences, the type of travel, the type of culture. It's basically cultures. It's different socioeconomic groups have different cultures. The group you share culture with is the group you're going to align with. And that culture is not purely racial. Again, I will always say genetics play a role, and we just got to know it's nuanced and it's more than just race. It's socioeconomics. Religion can play a factor. You can get Christians of different races and different socioeconomics, but if they're coming together in a love for Christ, they're together. Vice versa with Jewish people. You could have the Ethiopian Jew, Ashkenazi Jew, and the Mizrahi Jew. They're different racially in their different parts of the world. So when wars are happening, they have different people they may be supporting for different reasons. But they can come together as Jewish people and share in that culture. But some of the commenters say I talk too much. Before I continue, that's somewhat ironic. I have to talk. It's a one-man show until someone wants to co-host with me. So if you don't like the show and you have an issue with it, maybe you can turn it off, I guess.
Despite the fact that it should be the opposite. You know, everything that they say about white people is actually what they're doing to us right now. But let's take a listen at what she says. She's essentially calling for segregation, which, you know what? I'm just going to let her say everything because if I said it, I would get banned. Take a listen to the rest of this woman's lovely rant.
For the people who feel like me, who don't want to exist around wild beasts, it is not fair that we should have to live around people who we do not want to live around, people who are intrusive, people who are controlling, people who do not know how to respect boundaries, people who think they can force themselves or their way on you. We should not have to be forced to live around these people. So we need to, like I said, form our own state, our own government within this government, for us, by us, and it has to happen now. Black power forever.
Yeah, so I understand why she says she doesn't know if this is serious or a joke. It sounds like a joke to me. I don't know why she's this angry at white people. There are things white people can do that can make you upset, but to just say you want blacks to have their own state or their own couple states, I mean, it's basically just like the racist whites who want to separate from us. I don't think that'll cause it. I don't think it'll make anyone's life that much better or that much worse. All it would do is really just show people that all cultures have problems, so people would just see some of their problems and also see some of their strengths. But I think she's taking it too far, and I do agree with Lilly that if Lilly said the exact same thing, she would be called a racist. She'd probably be called a Nazi. She probably would be banned. So if YouTube, if you're really serious about this freedom of speech thing, don't just be about it to get more people back on your site because maybe people will go in the Rumble to watch some of the more extreme people, but actually try to use this platform to allow dialogue and change. Consider letting some of the people that you don't agree with speak, as long as, again, like I said, as long as it doesn't incite violence. I actually believe in my stances. I believe that Americans love one another across racial differences, across socio-economic differences, across religious differences. So my belief is that if we let these lunatics, whether it's Candace talking about the Jews, Nick talking about the blacks, Lilly talking about the blacks, I think if we let them share their thoughts, not just myself, but many other people who are educated will be able to present the other side. And I think that most people will agree more so with the side I'm coming from, where everybody has to work together and kind of work through our differences and see how we can coexist as one people, the American people.
I couldn't say how we're feeling about blacks any better. Chance, wow, my exuberance, I choked. Actually, crazy stuff. Literally everything she said that white people do to blacks is exactly what they do to us. Have you seen the videos? The millions of videos out there of blacks
I hate to stop so quick. On X, there's an account called I Expose Racist. There's also another one, I think I can't remember his name, but it's something. I remember I Expose Racist. Next show, I'll have the other guy. Basically, there are lots of fight videos out there, and the conservatives are only posting when black people fight, and they're saying it's normal of blacks. But there are tons of videos of whites, Asians, etc. fighting. So it's just a narrative that they're showing you. They're saying, oh, it's always blacks fighting. No, what it is you have a lot of white people in America. They are intrigued by the blacks fighting, like blacks are intrigued by whites fighting. But since the larger group of people are more enamored with the blacks fighting, the algorithm tends to, for various reasons, because of engagement, show the black people fighting a lot. But if you follow any fight page, you'll see that it's just across the board. Hispanic, Asian, white, black. People fight every day. And this is not even just lower class. This is everybody. There's just fight after fight after fight. There's tons of violence. But only the conservatives are showing you a narrative of blacks fighting. And also, now that I'm thinking about this, the angry black woman critique of black people. As you see, I'm a little animated, right? Colorful, right? When Nick is animated and colorful, he uses those words. When Trump curses, he says things like, oh, people say it's locker room talk, or just being straightforward. So what I'll say about the angry black woman is, it seems that because blacks are a little bit more impulsive and a little bit more outspoken, that When black people speak up, they call them angry. When black people speak up, they say they're stepping out of line. But let's say you have a person like Lilly or a person like Pearl Davis. These people share their opinions, or Emily Wilson. These people share their opinions. Sometimes they say ignorant things, but no one calls Emily ghetto trash. No one calls Lilly ghetto trash. So I just find it ironic how you can have black people say the same thing as whites and it's just taken differently. It would seem as though that we should hold everybody to the same standard.
Disturbing the peace and forcing themselves upon the rest of us, literally and figuratively, in every possible way that term can be used. It's true. It's honestly this level of delusion. This is like pathological liars who, like the gaslight people. This is gaslighting. Everything the black people are doing to us, that's what she's saying white people do to them. When's the last time that you passed a white person on the street and you felt threatened? I'm gonna say not as many incidents as when the opposite is the case.
I don't know why people say they feel threatened by the opposite race. Most of the blacks are murdered by blacks. Most of the whites are murdered by whites. Most of the crime done to blacks is done by blacks. Most of the crime done to whites is done by whites. Most of the crime by Hispanics that's done to Hispanics is done by Hispanics. I'm not sure why people fear the other racial groups. White people walk around thousands of black people every day with no fear. Then if one black out of the 10,000 does something, now you fear all blacks. It just makes no logical sense to me. Plus, they never even think about why it is that they're coming across so many violent blacks. Again, is it because you're in a city and that's the only group of violent people in the city? Not the only group of violent people in the country, not the only violent group of people in your state, but just the overwhelming majority of violent people in your city. I think we need to really consider addressing this to help with some of the racial strife in America. We need to consider potentially having some of these rural rights on Section 8 moved back into the city, because maybe we need people to see the true face of poverty so they stop thinking that blacks are the welfare queens and just start, black women are the welfare queens, and just start seeing that poverty is a social issue and not a racial one.
Case. How many times has it been a white person that's up in your face screaming like a certain kind of animal? And it's not.
Lilly, we cool. Watch it, bitch. I will come at your neck. I didn't let you slide with a few of these dehumanizing remarks. But I intend on commenting on the right and commenting on the left, and I'm a fair shooter. So if you come at my people too hard, I'm coming at your neck.
Not a white person, it's a black person. And the fact that she called us beasts, I'm still recovering. The fact that she called us wild beasts, I'm sorry, what? Need I even go there? Need I go there? I almost got up and got me a thing of bananas out there just to run the point home. But it is true, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Truly shocking, stunning levels of cognitive dissonance on display in this video. Stunning. But at the end of the day, let's say this is a white person, I would agree with absolutely everything. And you know what's ironic? Because she's allowed to do this. She has a platform. She's allowed to say this. This is like David Duke, okay? This is like the worst, most...
I'm from New Orleans. David Duke ran against Edwin Edwards. David Duke is he's older now, but he was trying to be the governor of Louisiana. Edwin Edwards was a criminal. Louisiana, our current mayor, she's already been indicted for lying about funds that she was sleeping with her security, and they were using funds. They were using funds. He was protecting her, but on the downtime, they were having a relationship. I spoke about Oliver Thomas. He's committed some crimes. Now I'm speaking about Edwin Edwards. The first two people were the mayor Cantrell and Oliver Thomas are black, but Edwin Edwards was white, and then Huey Long, who is also a Louisiana politician, he was a crook. So there are a lot of crooked politicians in Louisiana. What I will say, though, is though our politicians are crooked, Huey Long, Edwin Edwards, Oliver Thomas, and even Cantrell to some extent have tried to do for our people. So I don't agree with the corruption in politics, but I do believe if you're doing for the constituents, you're at least trying. So I'm open to potentially voting for you again, even if you have committed a crime.
Despicable racist imaginable. But since she's black, she's allowed to say that. But
I also lost my train of thought. The reason I brought up David Duke was because he was running for governor. He ran as a Republican. So he was at one point a member of the KKK and like a grand wizard. So one of the reasons there's some hesitation from blacks to support Republicans is that if you have, and this was in the 1990s, so I was a child. If you have a person like David Duke and he's able to get the nomination of the Republican Party and he was a known grand wizard, even though Edwin Edwards was a criminal, that was our two choices. So like now how New York has two criminals and a communist running, we had a KKK member running and a guy, Edwin Edwards, who was stealing money. So the choices were this. You vote for the Democrat who's liberal, who's trying to get more money for the lower class and who's also taking bribes, or you can vote for the staunch racist David Duke. So the problem in politics is that because the blacks and the people in Louisiana as a whole chose to vote for Edwin Edwards, people say we didn't care about corruption and people said we weren't trying to support families. No, what the issue was is that because of the history in America, a person like David Duke, who has said he's a grand wizard and who has espoused many views about the Jews and blacks that are disrespectful and disgusting, you can't have him be the leader because what's going on in people's mind is, I don't know how he's going to treat blacks as a whole. Are they going to bring back older policies from when these blacks, for example, my people who are like my parents, well, my mom passed, but people my parents' age and my aunts and uncles' age, they lived through segregation. They're going to be very hesitant to vote for people if they think those people are going to revert back to old laws. So, for example, the Republicans got in and they reversed Roe versus Wade. So we have seen that laws can change when you put in different judges and you put in different policymakers. One fear of black people is that when you put in some of these conservatives or these Republicans, they're going to do things that kind of change the rules that black people fought for. So don't always judge blacks and think we're against all the Republican policies. It's not necessarily that. We may be for some of the policies. The problem is there's a fear that if we were to allow the Republicans to get too much control, there wouldn't be nothing to prevent them from taking away some of the things that the liberals and the Democrats did fight for, because the Democrats are the ones who proposed and eventually got the Civil Rights Bill passed, which allows blacks to vote, which allows blacks to go to schools, which allows blacks to go to restaurants, right? It may seem funny to everybody else who is not black. They may say, oh, we passed that. We thought we were past the abortion rights, but as you can see, that's 1972. Something that was passed in 1972 was changed. So something that was passed in 1964 can be changed just as easily. So I just put that out there so that maybe there can be some dialogue amongst the Republicans where maybe y'all clean up your act and get rid of some of the extremists, not just disavow them, but stop fooling with them altogether. Because Trump was still fooling with Nick in terms of taking money. People like Scalise and all these people, they say they're against the KKK, but they still meet with people who espouse those views and still harbor those beliefs. So there's somewhat of a distrust by the African American community. I don't mind my people listening to Scalise and giving them an ear. I don't even mind them listening to Nick and giving them an ear, but I'm just letting you guys know the hesitation is not because we're necessarily racist. We're just not sure if you're racist, if that's making sense to you guys.
You know what? I'm going to give it to her. I actually agree with you. Yes, please do that. Please have your own spaces. Just stay away from ours. Also, I'm sure we're going to have to do a video on this, but there's Publix now has been invaded by her kind as well, and they are destroying it and fighting and raising hell as they are wont to do. But it's truly shocking.
You didn't say nothing, but you said her kind. I know you're trying to be disparaging. I know y'all calling us monkeys and y'all calling us gorillas. Have you seen y'all's lips? I'm going to start calling y'all chimps for chimpanzees if y'all keep fucking around.
Shocking that that's how she views us when that's literally exactly how whites' experiences with blacks are. So yes, we are actually sick of you. By the way, sun dodgers. You know who I see lathering on the sunscreen? Because I live at the beach. I see black people lathering on the sunscreen more than whites. So what's that about? Okay? What's that about? Anyway, let's take a look at this video. This is actually a video of what it would look like if blacks were segregated, like that woman said she wanted. I'm just going based on what the black people are saying that they want. This is how it would look like if black people were segregated and they had black police patrolling and trying to keep the peace, although that would be a very difficult job. But this is kind of an example of what that would look like if they had their black utopia. It would look exactly like what we kind of already have in the hoods.
Standing there. What did he do right?
And her baby daddy sell weed. 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 What the hell? What the hell? That's illegal. That's illegal. That's illegal. That's illegal.
See, I can already see where this about to go. So I've been coming at Nick a lot, but I see I'm going to just start having to pull up videos of white people acting ignorant, and I'm going to have to respond to it because we could go tick for tack. You pulling up some ignorant black people, they fighting. I could pull up some ignorant whites and I can start reacting to that shit since that's what people want to see. But I'll let Lilly go ahead and speak about how that represents all blacks, even though that just looked like coonery and foolishness to me. This looked like some ignorant people got in a fight for whatever reasons. Some of them could barely talk.
So there you go, ma'am. You have it. That's what it looks like. Did you catch the weave fly off? Did you catch the wig fly off the female officer of the law? Yes, officer. Yes, officer. First, let me fix my wig. My wig. Shit. Did you catch that? That's illegal. That's illegal.
I catch a lot of shit, Lilly. I just hope you read it.
Illegal. Sir, can you speak English? Like, did you just get off the boat? Her baby just said weed. Her baby just said weed. What chaos? What chaos erupts when they are left to themselves? But there you go. I actually agree with you. I do think you should have your own spaces, and I think you should stay away from ours. I think a little separation would be good for everybody. You guys would quickly descend into chaos, as you are wont to do, and white people would go on living and building beautiful civilizations and living in peace for once and not having to worry about getting cracked over the head. But
not to sound like a broken record, y'all have y'all own spaces in Appalachia. Y'all have y'all own spaces in Oklahoma is predominantly white. I think it's 70% white. West Virginia is 90% white. You have your own spaces in Kentucky. Where are these great American cities in these white areas? Why is it that the only great things you guys have are in diverse areas? What are the whites who in Appalachia unable to build remarkable civilizations? What's wrong with them?
By someone or attacked or carjacked. The list goes on. You get the point. So, lady, I actually agree with you. Despite your very inaccurate descriptors of white people, I do actually agree with you. I do agree that we need spaces, but believe it or not, it's not going to go as well for you as it will for us. We'll be thriving if we had our own places.
Y'all had Europe and killed every fucking body. World War I, World War II.
You, on the other hand, well, just take a look at what Haiti is looking like and their warlord named Barbecue. He's named Barbecue because he barbecues people in the streets. That's what it would look like on your side of town. Our side of town would be thriving and safe, and you'd always be trying to sneak to our side. Your side of the town would be
If I recall, when we was in Africa, we didn't bother y'all. Y'all was the ones that came mess with everybody else. But I guess you can't think that far back. You're not aware of the history.
Grace, but by all means, bring it on. Because I would like to live in that sort of town. And more power to you. Black power. Anyway, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like and leave a comment. And
we have a few comments today. So we got one from Copson. Hi, Lil Mo. I follow you on Twitter. And I really fuck with this. Don't stop what you're doing. I plan to keep going. Jesse Everything. I think using the N-word is holding black people back. I'm not sure. Nobody even knows what the N-word means. So I think more people need to find out what it means before we say it's holding people back. It's crass and just as annoying as listening to one say bro or dude. Well, yeah, that's just if people keep repeating the same thing. I try not to sound like a broken record player with some of my comments. As far as people being racist, I think it's plainly obvious that everyone is racist to some degree. Yes, we all tend to have bias towards our siblings or our relatives and in our neighborhood, our cities, etc. We should work on that. Watch a liberal be confronted with a non-white who is a conservative, and you'll see immediately just how they think they should have certain opinions based on how they look. I'm in agreement with you, bro. Myself included, we all need to just work on seeing other people's perspectives. I'm trying, guys, but people say dumb shit to me, and you know I'm a nigga, blacks are impulsive, I respond. DTX817, somebody's talking to somebody else, but they said reparations from the people who caught you, packaged you up, enslaved you, and sold you. Because from my understanding, it was your own people. Yes, I do believe that Africans sold other Africans in war. So yes, I'm not necessarily, as I've said previous episode, I'm not a big proponent of reparations. I think people now have opportunity, and if you have freedom of opportunity and you make everything merit-based, I think everyone has similar chances and opportunities. You'll always have some advantages if you have more money. A person who can afford test prep classes or extra time tutoring is going to do better than somebody who can't afford it. But generally speaking, people have similar opportunities. We have answer verse 1. White people had 400 years of free labor and endless supply of resources from colonized African countries. So they had all of the time for innovation because they spent time in schools, colleges, and workshop labors. Blacks never had such opportunities. Again, I agree with that. It played some role in things, but now we have opportunities, so let's see what we do with it. Now react to this is from Carlos Broadway 9331. Now react to the ones where black folk in their own yards and hoods. I guess he's talking about when I responded to the white person, the white boys in the hood reaction video. If you haven't checked that out, check that out. Isaac Talton 1504 have the same energy when the black man went to the construction site and got attacked by whites. I definitely would, right? I think I defend black people when blacks are in the right, and I defend whites, even the white racists, soft and hard when they're in the right. I'm about objectivity, and I'm about telling the truth. So I want you guys to feel like when you come to this show that you know you're gonna get something honest and objective. I know Garrett. He said first for episode 7. Appreciate it, bro. Alex Macy 770. You need to let that video play and then give your response on the back end. Nick Fuentes talking to Candace Owens. That is not the way to do a reaction. It's annoying. I'm sorry. I'm trying to work on it. You should watch Isaiah Robbins' video and follow his way of presenting. I can't watch your page because it's annoying to stop the video. I'm sorry. If you come across it again, maybe I'll have changed it. We'll see. I'll try. Lee Randall 1. He doesn't dislike blacks because of the skin color. He dislikes them because of how they act. How do blacks act, and how do whites act different from blacks? Because I believe that all groups of people have their ignorant and violent people. So I'm not sure how it's different for whites and blacks other than, I guess, per capita, one group does it more. But that's, as I've said before, the same comparison is true of whites and Asians. So should Asians have a problem with whites based upon your logic? And just for the record, the most racist people in this country are blacks on whites. Potentially and potentially what we say, but black people have not held white people back in America. We have not enslaved y'all. We have not had Jim Crow laws. So based upon the history, it can go back and forth. Maybe now, because of what blacks experience, they're allowed to share their trauma and what we went through. But we've experienced a lot of chattel slavery and a lot of racism at the hands of whites. I'll answer a few more. Well, just 2 more. Frazier Fitzgibbon 1469. Blacks did not have anything. I addressed you earlier in the show, bro. Sub-Saharan Africans, West and East, had a lot. Egyptians are Arab. Egyptians come from Nigeria. Not Nigeria. Egyptians come from Ethiopia and through Sudan. So that's Sub-Saharan Africans. They are black. Nothing close to Central and Southern Africa. Oh, yes, I understand Central and Northern Africans are different from the Ethiopians, but they would all be considered black. They didn't have a wheel. Well, somehow Mansa Musa got from the west of Africa all the way into Southeast Asia. So he got there without a wheel, so he did fine without it. Until Arabs and whites brought, well, Arabs and whites brought a lot to us, but we brought a lot to them. Sub-Saharans didn't come up north due to desert people now in Africa. Yes, there was a desert that prevented the people getting across, but people got across the desert. It just took time, and that's how Mansa Musa was able to get where he got. No cars, there were no cars, period. There were no cars during this time period. It's not as though Europeans had cars in 1400s and blacks didn't. So I don't understand what you're talking about. You can't teach those people anything. You clearly can teach sub-Saharan Africans a lot, because if you look at the Nigerians, they have an advanced culture. They may not be as advanced as everywhere in Northern Europe, but Nigeria's IQ is higher than some of the sub-Saharan Africans. Not sub-Saharan. Nigeria's IQ is higher than some of Southeast Europe. And also, as you would know if you watch some of my other episodes, African Americans have a higher IQ than many countries in Southeast Europe. So you clearly can teach Africans things, sub-Saharan Africans things. This would be the last comment. Ooh, I might do one more, but this might be the last comment. The universe works for us beings is who it's from. I disagree with liberals not being racist. Yes, liberals code switch. I suggest people listen to Malcolm X. Okay, yes, liberals also pander. They're not racist towards blacks. Liberals are racist towards other whites. People like Nick give conservatives a bad name. Okay, the universe works for us beings. I'm liking what you're saying. I'm in agreement. Republicans aren't going around using the N-word. Some do, some don't. It doesn't bother me. Trust believe there are plenty of black, brown, white, and yellow. For sure. I'm thinking of Vivek, right? So Vivek did well in the Republican Party, just didn't get the nomination for president, but I think he's running for like Ohio governor. Only issue is some of the people who are on TV on Fox said they wouldn't vote for him because he was dark skinned. So you guys just have a group of people inside your party who give you a bad name. I will get to this. This will be the last one. It is from Lisa Hill 182. I'll make this one larger. Just stumbled across your channel. Thankful that you took time out of your day to check it out, but I like your attitude and openness. Appreciate it. I'm Gen X. I think I'm a millennial, so Gen X is older than me. I think if I got you wrong, I apologize. And I felt like I didn't recognize our country as the one I grew up in. But because of younger people, okay, yes, you are older than me. Because of younger people, I'm seeing it come back. It's so beautiful. I appreciate so much the way you're handling yourself in your platform. Thank you. I hope the producer hears this, because sometimes we go back and forth about comments. We get negative comments, and I try to say, well, there's a silent majority. There may be people watching who appreciate the candor and appreciate the nuance, right? I don't see myself as an extreme person on either side, but I am animated. I'm just animated from the middle. I want agreement. I want compromise. I want togetherness. And so I may not say the crazy racist or the crazy homophobic things that other people are saying to get clicks, but I still think I provide like an enjoyable show for people. And this is going to be closing up. This is the last comment. They say, thank you again for checking it out. Please subscribe, tell friends. Guys, if you like the show, if you dislike the show, tell friends, because I'm one of the people who's stepping into this space who wants to talk to everybody. So even if we don't agree, I'm not going to block you on social. I'm going to continue to talk to you. A lot of people have been blocking me. It kind of gets to me a little bit because I'm trying to have a conversation, and I don't know why all these big accounts are against I didn't break his computer. Are against having a conversation. They say they want dialogue. They say they want to get down to the truth. I'm just a regular person. I ask questions. Xavier's blocking me. Candace Owens is blocking me. Nick Fuentes is blocking me. D1 is blocking me. And there's many more, you guys. There's so many of these people say they want to talk and they blocking your boy. I don't know why. By the way, I would never call someone the N-word. I respect that. You don't have to. It's degrading. I don't think it's degrading, but I follow what you're saying. I can't ever be okay with it. I love all people. Me too. It's hard to live with assholes. Right. There's so many. Narcissists, etc. But they're not what make life beautiful, right? It's the people who are leaving me the positive comments and tweeting me and hitting the like, right? There's so much more positivity than negativity. I appreciate you guys, and I want to give love back to you guys. so we can ignore that. Well, we not gonna ignore these niggas because they making a lot of noise, and that's why I stepped into the space. I wanted the people who are positive, who have something nice to say, share your opinions. Send some of these influencers love. Send some of these influencers that black pound fist with a heart emoji behind it. See how they respond since they claiming to be Christians. Elijah, Schaefer, so I don't like the N-word. I think crackers. Well, see, bro, if you think crackers funny, you gotta think niggas funny, bro. We gotta be fair to everybody. We can't just pick on the whites. We gotta pick on the blacks. We gotta pick on the Jews. What's going on with Ben Shapiro in that hat? Come on, guys. I'm Spanglish. Okay, English. I got you, bro. That's that Southern slang shit. I'm Spanish and Northern European Spanglish. I got you. So if I don't get enough sun in the summer, I'm what, bro. Bro, that's a good one, bro. You might hear me use that. Hopefully, Lisa is a female. If I use it, I'll try to shout you out. That was hilarious. So, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace. Blacks, Hispanics, and whites can't read. Why you think I started a podcast? It's a fucking racist thing with you niggas, and that's why I'm coming at you niggas next. They love to talk about black violence. Have you heard of white violence? White people commit violent crime at 3 times the rate of Asians. When is Nick Fuentes gonna talk about white violence? Everybody's arguing about their 2 genders. I sat next to her hermaphrodite in math class. Am I allowed to talk about the Jews? If she wanted, we could do it in the morning. Yawning, letting my eyes stretch, baby, I ain't a novice. I've been a dog, she FaceTime, but I never call.